I mean, we see in the Sumerian text the double helix sign quite a lot. So this was saying, and they're saying, is that actually proof that the Sumerians knew about genetics? Because our DNA code is this sort of shape, and that's interesting. There's a lot of people argue that there's proof that we're genetically engineered, that we're a hybrid engineered species, because there's like this rhesus negative thing.
Yeah, the rhesus negative blood type is a
Which I didn't know until we looked into this. That's actually because of monkeys. I didn't get that, didn't I? I didn't make the connection between. I knew a rhesus monkey was a thing, and I knew rhesus negative was a thing. I never connected the two.
Yeah.
So you're saying, what is rhesus negative then? What does it mean?
So rhesus negative. Well, it just negative blood group just means that you don't have any antigens around your blood cell.
So right. So if you haven't got any antigens around your blood, is this when that triggers your immune system?
Yeah. Well, basically, you can get a situation with a pregnant woman where she could be rhesus negative but have a rhesus positive baby, and her body will reject the infant as though it's a foreign body and just kill it.
Which is just crazy, yeah.
Because the mother has the antigens, but the child doesn't have the antigens.
So the body's immune system literally thinks it's an enemy and rejects it.
Kind of, basically, yeah.
And so the only other time we've seen this apparently in nature is with the rhesus monkey.
Yeah.
So they called it rhesus positive, rhesus negative. And I think that's crazy. I looked into this a bit though, and I said a lot of YouTube videos again go and say this doesn't happen in nature ever. Apparently it does, but apparently we've not. I know in dogs there's lots of different blood types, and you do get positive and negative. It's different. It's a different type of. There seems to be lots and lots of different ways blood can be.
Yeah, I imagine there is. But if you think about the multitude of species and how they could all evolve their blood slightly differently and away from.
But the big thing they've just read is we haven't done a lot of research in this as human beings.
We don't.
Because there's no need to. We've done a lot of research into human beings because we do blood transfusions and things like this, so there's a lot of research going into it. But for animals, that's the only reason that we know about that in dogs is because ridiculous people in America actually spend thousands of pounds on the and dogs have started to have blood transfusions. So vets did the research. Most other animals, they spend some research in cattle and things, but not a great deal.
So so to state that it doesn't appear in nature at all is also there's new species discovered every day. All right, probably not.
Yeah.
Significantly sized new fauna, mammals.
Yeah, we're not finding
of a decent size. We're not finding new big mammals
until we find Sasquatch.
Yeah, we do probably. There probably are the odd species of small, like mice type or shrew type.
I think we find a lot of insects and things like that, don't we? Spiders and things like that. We find a lot of that, don't we?
Yeah.
They reckon we wipe out more than we discover every day.
Probably wouldn't be too difficult in terms of the numbers to do an investigation of the entire mammalian group in terms of blood types and positive, negative.
I think
there's only a few hundred, isn't there?
I think it's just a lot of effort that they've done, or any research that's been done has been limited anyway, because again we don't do blood transfusions. There's no reason to do a great deal. But that seems to be the argument when I've looked into it. There are other scientists that have said we're actually sea star children, and that we got a lot of our DNA's apparently got a lot of junk DNA. So we've got the DNA that our bodies use, and then it's got a load of stuff that we just don't.
Yeah, but I don't even like that term junk DNA, because by terming some of it junk, you're just terming it, it doesn't matter what that bit does. When really what it means is scientists haven't figured out what that bit does yet.
Well, the mainstream science believed, no, true, but the mainstream believed it's junk DNAs because DNA we used to use and now don't, because we've sort of like fine-tuned our genetic coding. But there's the flip argument for that is, it's DNA that we don't use yet.
Yeah, on and off switches potentially in the sequence, and certain parts of the sequence not being active at present.
There's a Dr. Mary Rodwell's done a lot of work. She says she believes a lot of children today are with sort of Asperger's and disorders like this. It is actually just children that certain elements of their DNA has been activated, and when we see savants that are able to do these incredible number counting and things, they say that's actually skills being activated too soon, potentially, but that is
kind of makes some sense.
It's alien activation, alien hybridization that's being occasionally activated. There's a Professor Sam Chang from the Human Genome Project who says we're seeing activation of this junk DNA over 1 or 2 generations. That's not evolution. That's too fast. So if we're seeing an increase or an improvement in our DNA, his argument is that because ET's coming and our DNA is starting to activate.
Quite possibly. If they were capable of creating us and manipulating DNA on a probably basis further than we're at today, and it's already incredible what they're starting to be able to do with genetic modification of crops, and they can already splice genes into, so that this is going back a few years even, but they spliced the silk producing gene from a spider into a goat, so that it would produce.
That genuinely terrifies me.
It produces spider silk instead of milk, which is used for Kevlar vests.
Yes,
but it's incredibly strong. So they're already doing this kind of
I said
splicing
if you created a net
animals.
big enough, you could stop a truck with it. If you create a cobweb big enough, it's an incredible material.
Unreal, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, so if you just imagine
spider goats, though, no.
What a species that's a bit further ahead of us can do.
Yeah.
The realm of possibility
that's the point,
is endless.
If the Anunnaki did put all this genetic coding into us, and they thought ahead, and they've on this 3,600-year orbit, and Nibiru is coming back.
Yep.
It's on its way back. Maybe that coding is starting to activate.
Quite possibly.
We're waiting for their...
Possible, yeah. Who's say no?
And that's actually a little scary. That is a little scary, because what could that genetic coding, once activated, be or do? Does it make us compliant? Does it make us...
I reckon you might be everybody might be telepathic as well, but because of our diet and our continued mistreatment of the pineal gland, basically, the third eye, in the centre of your head, isn't it? Or,
that's something we're going to talk about a lot in a future episodes, isn't it? With the third eye and the Masons and all that sort of thing as well, and the symbology of a lot of our construction through thousands of years.
Yeah. This is where some people claim they can communicate, don't they, with other beings on another planet? Yeah. Just through telepathic.
Unfortunately, a lot of the evidence, and I'm going to go evidence for Nibiru stuff, is done through people saying that they're telepathic, automatic writing, this sort of thing. And that's what there's a woman whose name I forget who actually went through all this and said that the Nibiru is coming back, and they've been talking to her. And I'm like, I like the idea of it. Okay, we have the power to talk to anyone, but we're going to talk to you, crazy American lady.
Well, yeah. Why and who they
She's got
pick.
12 cats. Let's talk to her. I'm not sure about that, but hey, as soon as I start hearing voices, I'm gonna be like, shit. But anyway, if we go back to the story, the Anunnaki, they're mating with humans. We're creating demigods. Everything's hunky dory, except Enlil isn't happy.
No, he wanted the demise of humanity.
Yeah. He considered these, particularly the demigods, to be abominations or something. Which, again, if we link back into the Bible, the story of why God created the flood. Now, a lot of people think that was because he was wiping out evil. The actual Bible talks about angels and archangels mating with man.
Yes.
And creating a mixed race, a mixed species. And that was what God needed to get rid of. Now, we talk about the morals of God actually wiping out everything to do that. And I actually made a nun cry once with this argument, so I'm not going to go into it. But I also wonder if God is supposed to be all powerful, why can he just go, I don't like you, and just literally, why did you have to create a flood? It seems to be a bit of a, the Eddie Izzard joke about it's the Etch a Sketch end of the world. You're drawing a thing, go crossways, no, don't know what that is anymore. I was going to wipe that out, start again. That is, But that lies into that this Enlil, he didn't like the mixing, and he decided that on Nibiru's next path, that there would be this massive fuck-off flood caused by the gravitational effects of Nibiru.
Nibiru on coming into the inner solar system, and
and they just weren't going to stop it.
Yeah.
And we were nearly wiped out.
Yeah, and then supposedly Enki was the one that wanted to save some of humanity. Supposedly would have been the one that gave the word to Noah to build the ark.
Yeah. And tried to save as many of us as we could.
Yeah, and to save as many of the species.
And interestingly, this has supposedly happened 12,000 years ago, which is an interesting date. Because it's going to be about 3 or 4 episodes away, but we're going to talk about the Younger Dryas event.
Yes.
Where there is significant evidence of big fuck-off floods.
Yes, massive climate change and massive sea level change around the last ice age.
You can see why somebody's gone with a pencil and gone and connected a lot of these stories.
Yes, because there are a lot of points that.
Now there are some where these are a little bit different. In the Akkadian myths, the Anunnaki are the gods of the underworld. The Igigi are the gods of heaven, or the gods of the skies, which is a total flip of what we've already talked about, where the Igigis were seem to be the lower caste of gods, and the Anunnaki were the upper caste. Sometimes the Anunnaki are called the oldest gods.
There's a lot of confusion, isn't there? It is a lot of myth, really, with very, very lacking evidence.
Do you think, though, that the different stories or different, particularly when we seem to get different stories from different parts of the world, and I mean, we can even argue that some of the Native American myths link into some of this stuff we're talking about. If we talk about that again, we talk about the Hopi tribe, and they talk about their gods that came from under the ground. And there's some arguments say that was that the Anunnaki.
And there's a lot of symbology in Mayan,
exactly.
Structures and that shows that they had gods of the underworld, and they believed that the gods lived under.
So there's another story. There's a Japanese myth about there was a god, and then there was a seven generations of God, and then the 7th generation, and these then caused they would then cause the council or the judges of man, and they then created man, and they delivered him onto a water world, so a world covered in water. They created a land, which was Japan, and then they created woman so that we could mate. Then goes into an incredibly sexist part of the story. So in their mythology, first of all, the man and the woman had their little marriage ceremony, and in the ceremony the woman spoke first. They then got jiggy, had a baby, but the baby was deformed. So they scrapped that idea and they went through another set of ceremonies where the man spoke first. And when the man spoke first, the baby was fine.
Normal.
And Japanese culture is still very much male dominant, female submissive, and we still see that today. But they had this thing of this 7 councils, and it's just this number 7 keeps reappearing.
It's almost like somebody wrote that line in as a method of control at some point during the history of Japanese culture.
But we see the same with the Christian stories. The Adam and Eve story of the snake in Christian mythology. It's totally the woman's fault, and God was a sod about it as well. He then basically said, as punishment, women will be in pain during childbirth. And that was his punishment. What a shit. God is a twat. But in Islamic tradition, they've got a similar story, and it's pretty much even. We're both to blame. We basically talked each other into it. There's a man and a woman going to just have a bit of the apple, and the bloke's there going, yeah, why not? Let's have a bit of apple. Which a bloke would. A bloke has got no self-control. He's got a naked chick over here, which is definitely distracting him. A snake comes over and goes, have an apple. I'm going, yeah, I'll have an apple. He's talking.
Distracted.
And then he would so blame her. You know, it's the same with me with the wife. When you go, she'll go left or right. I think it's left. She goes, it's right. I go, okay, then I'll turn right because I don't want an argument. And then when I turn right, I go, I bloody told you when it's wrong. Yeah. We love blaming. Anyway.
It is. We do have a blame-based culture.
But we're just seeing these. I wonder whether, because we get lots of different versions of the same story from different cultures in different times, you can either argue that removes some of the credence of the story. It makes it less believable because you're saying, well, we're seeing different versions of the same thing, so that contradicts that. Or does it actually give more to it and make it more believable? Because maybe not the stories we've got, because we've got 10,000 years of it being told. It's going to have changed.
Yeah, of course. But, Chinese whispers. Yeah.
But there's something there.
Yeah, it's when the root of a lot of these stories is the same, even though the details have been tweaked slightly by different cultures at different times, and
yeah, exactly.
That there is some
different understanding, different thing.
It seems like there was some kind of core civilization pre the last Ice Age, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. There seems to be one core
then all funneled
religion,
through all
one core civilization, one core something that, whether they were called the Anunnaki or not, or the Atlanteans or whatever, there seems to have been something there.
Yeah. Probably.
Now we've got to try and figure out and go through all this and figure out what's bullshit, what's mistaken, what's misunderstood, and get down to something that makes sense. And that's what we're going to do over the next 2-3 episodes.
Or try.
Hey, now I've got more confidence in us than that. I think we're going to do it. Come on, we are going to explain a mystery that's been discovered for no, we're not. We'll do what we can.
Yeah.
So, all right. So thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
I've started doing that at the end of videos, and I need to stop. I did it at the start of my last video. I went, bear with me, and I'm like, I've noticed I've done it, and it's fucking horrific.
Is it?